Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we leave the biological behind and step into the void. During the sunset of the Cold War, the Strategic Defense Initiative, popularly known as Star Wars, pushed physics to its breaking point. But while the public looked at satellites and lasers, the agency was looking at the holes between atoms. They feared the Soviet Union had discovered a way to weaponize the fabric of space itself. This was the mind-bending pursuit of Project K-Gate. K-Gate was the agency's attempt to understand torsion fields, the physics of the twist. Project K-Gate was an analysis of Soviet research into torsion fields, a theoretical physical phenomenon where the spin of atoms creates a field that travels faster than the speed of light. A quote from a declassified SDI technical assessment. The Soviet focus on nonlinear field effects suggests a potential for communication and detection systems that bypass all known relativistic constraints, end quote. Soviet scientist led by, I'm probably going to butcher his name, Anatoly Akimov, Akimov, claimed that torsion fields could penetrate any known physical shield from lead to solid mountains. The agency feared that the Soviets were using vacuum energy to create a torsion radar that could track U.S. nuclear submarines at any depth without using sonar. K-Gate memos reveal the CIA was investigating spin-spin interactions, trying to determine if human thought itself was actually a form of torsion radiation. A quote from a 1987 interim report. If the, and I wish I knew I was saying the guy's name right because I know that I butchered it, but I think it's Akimov. It's Akimov. Effect is validated. Current cryptographic standards are rendered useless as the transmission of data via the vacuum would be undetectable to standard receivers. The CIA monitored labs in Novosibirsk, Novosibirsk, where researchers allegedly sent a torsion signal through 50 kilometers of solid Earth. Project researchers looked into static torsion generators, devices that could supposedly alter the weight of objects by twisting the local gravitational field. Declassified 2026 logs show that K-Gate scientists traveled to the Swiss Alps to test if high-altitude vacuum density affected the coherence of torsion waves. A quote from Dr. Shipov, a Soviet physicist, and that's Shipov. The vacuum is not empty. It is a warehouse of infinite information. We are simply learning how to open the door. End quote. The agency investigated biotorsion, the idea that a sensitive could spin their own aura to communicate with the receiver across the globe. Soviet data suggested that torsion fields had memory, meaning a location could remember the events that happened there through the lingering twist of space. K-Gate explored the use of torsion-based stealth when an aircraft could twist light around it, becoming truly invisible to the naked eye. A quote from a declassified Office of Security briefing. Potential Soviet application, a torsion beam that can scramble the electronics of an ICBM mid-flight using zero-point energy, end quote. The agency used torsion-sensitive liquid crystals to try and see the invisible waves being emitted by Soviet embassy equipment. Project Meter and K-Gate overlapped when researchers hypothesized that psychic sabotage was actually a torsion pulse directed at a petri dish. Internal CIA debate centered on whether torsion was new physics or simply a Soviet disinformation campaign to trick the US into wasting billions on a myth. Budgetary reports from 2026 show that K-Gate funded spin-polarized research at top-tier American universities to bridge the torsion gap. A quote from a declassified SDI memo: "Our current understanding of the vacuum is insufficient to rule out the possibility of instantaneous information transfer." End quote. The agency looked into proprioceptive torsion testing if people could feel when a torsion generator was turned on in a nearby room. Project K-Gate researchers were the first to suggest that the CIA needed a Department of Anomalous Physics. The releases contain a vacuum map showing areas of the world where the agency believed torsion fields were naturally stronger or weaker. Soviet reports claimed that torsion fields could affect the radioactive decay rates of materials, a claim the CIA took as a direct threat to nuclear security. A quote from an anonymous CIA physicist: "If the Akimov, AKIMOV, math holds up, we aren't just looking at a new weapon, we're looking at the end of privacy as a concept." End quote. The project examined torsion shields devices designed to untwist space around an agency safe house to prevent eavesdropping. Late-stage K-Gate research investigated whether torsion fields were responsible for the unidentified aerial phenomenon reported by military pilots. The documents show a series of experiments where researchers attempted to use torsion fields to accelerate the ripening of crops, hoping to solve famine or cause it. K-Gate researchers analyzed the hollow earth myths from a torsion perspective, wondering if a planetary spin could create a pocket of warped space-time at the core. A quote from a 1999 physics symposium: "We are not measuring a field, we are measuring the fingerprints of the architect." End quote. The agency investigated neural torsion, the possibility that high-intensity magnetic fields in cities were interfering with the natural torsion spin of human brain cells. Soviet research papers that have been declassified describe a torsion battery that could store energy indefinitely without any loss of charge through vacuum coupling. While the math is declassified, a 1991 file titled K-Gate Termination, the Temporal Echo, is completely redacted. Why did the CIA bury the evidence of what happens when a torsion field reaches its maximum spin? Get ready for the theory of the infinite ear. Speculation suggests that Project K-Gate discovered the Soviets were already listening to our thoughts from the future using vacuum energy, and the black redactions hide the time leak transcripts where the US government argues with its own descendants. What if there are no secrets? A dark rumor suggests the CIA found a way to twist space to look inside any vault on Earth, and the redactions are the photos of what they found and the Kremlin, including things that aren't supposed to exist on this planet. Could the void be hungry? Speculation suggests the redactions hide the attrition event where a torsion experiment accidentally deleted a small laboratory, and the agency is hiding the fact that they don't know where the scientists went. Watch out for the parallel political theory. It claims the redactions hide evidence that K-Gate was used to swap world leaders with versions of themselves from a parallel torsion reality to ensure a more favorable outcome for the agency. What if light has a ghost? Speculation posits the redactions hide the discovery of dark torsion, a field that allows for the creation of solid objects out of thin air, and the black bars hide the blueprints for a vacuum-born army. Could the field drive you mad? A wild rumor suggests the redactions hide the vertigo virus, a state of permanent spatial disorientation caused by being exposed to a torsion field, and the redactions are the locations of the warp wards where victims are kept. Brace for the retro casualty theory. It claims the agency is currently using torsion to edit the past, and the redactions are the changelogs of historical events that never actually happened, but we remember them anyway. Some believe the redactions hide the static signal. Speculation suggests the CIA found a message encoded in the torsion of the universe itself, and the black bars hide the identity of the cosmic broadcaster. Beware the orbital anchor rumor. It claims the redactions hide a secret satellite network that is twisting the space over the U.S. to prevent any foreign psychic or torsion-based influence from entering the country. Some speculate the black bars hide the reset button. The theory is that if a torsion field is spun fast enough, it restarts the universe, and the redactions are the instructions for when the agency decides to try again. Enter the looming yesterday theory. It suggests the redacted pages contain proof that K-Gate accidentally stalled the flow of time for 5 seconds in 1990, and the agency spent the last 30 years using torsion to stitch our memories back together so we wouldn't notice. Is the gold gone? Speculation posits the redactions hide Project Midas Twist, where the agency used torsion fields to teleport the contents of foreign bank vaults directly into Langley, and the black ink is covering the serial numbers of the missing billions. Beware the soul torsion rumor. It claims the redactions hide evidence that a torsion field can actually separate a soul from a body, and the CIA is currently using this twist to keep a gallery of bodiless world leaders in a vacuum chamber for questioning. What if the TV is talking back? Some theorists believe the redactions hide Operation Rabbit Hole, where torsion was used to hide secret messages inside the static of analog television broadcast to keep the public in a state of low-level hypnosis. Lastly, brace for the 0-point zealot rumor. It suggests the redactions hide the location of a torsion-powered gateway in the Nevada desert that the agency uses to export unwanted evidence and people into a dimension where they never existed at all. Was Project K-Gate a success? Theoretically, it remains a mystery. To this day, mainstream physics dismisses torsion fields as a fringe theory of pseudoscience. However, operationally, it was a defensive triumph. K-Gate ensured that the CIA was never blindsided by a Soviet technological leap. It forced the agency to master the math of the impossible, just in case the impossible turned out to be true. As far as operational and technological breakthroughs go, the twist of K-Gate changed the way we look at the vacuum. For instance, non-linear cryptography, developing a new way to encrypt data that doesn't rely on standard radio frequencies. Quantum entanglement research, early U.S. interest in spooky action at a distance was accelerated by the fear of torsion. Advanced shielding, the development of metamaterials that can bend waves around an object, and gravimetric sensing, modern tech that can detect minute changes in gravity to see through solid walls or underground. Project K-Gate allows Project K-Gate shows us that the agency wasn't just guarding the borders of the country, they were guarding the borders of reality. The next time you feel a sudden, inexplicable chill or sense that someone is watching you from a room with no windows, don't look at the walls, look at the space between them. Thanks for listening, and join us next time when we examine Project Mudlark. The agency believed that a man's secrets weren't in his words, but in his grammar. We'll uncover the investigation into the linguistic patterns of defectors. We'll look at how the CIA believed they could detect a mole simply by analyzing the frequency of specific prepositions in their speech. Join us next time for the syntax spy. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.